we go.
Okay. 200th episode.
Booyah. I mean, there's nothing else happening today.
Right. Well, it's
I mean,
pretty cool that they planned the election on our 200th episode.
isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
We're movers and shakers. They know that.
they know it.
They know we're affecting things.
Come on. Come on, Insta. Why is it not going?
You know what?
Insta is
I just typed.
struggling.
I just typed in the Mobilized Church Network chat.
Yeah.
I said for real ski, and the first thing I thought was, "Oh, I'd like to have a ski to drink."
Bro, let's go.
Dude, it just hit me.
Only the real ones know.
Real ski. It was so cool. I mean, it just hit me in the head. Just hit me in the head.
It's awesome. It is okay. So,
Uh-huh.
I don't know what to do here.
Oh boy. 200th episode, and we've got technical difficulties.
Doggone it.
What is it?
Graham, not Scott. Insta.
Scott Instagram. We need to figure this Graham situation out.
It's not good, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I had it all. So I have a little like pre-show routine,
Yep.
right? A little pre-show routine. I go through and
Yep.
I get it. Every week you have to enter a new key. It's called stream key. And I don't know why it's not working. It is absolutely not working. I quit and came back in.
Come on, Graham.
Okay, let me try one more thing real quick. I'll try to close out and come back into it. I'm on. So it's like it's the normal routine, but for some reason Restream is not liking it. It's not liking it.
Come on, Restream. I don't even know how to log in. I can't log in on my computer. I'll see if it's doing something over there.
It just says unable to connect.
I need to grab my phone anyway. Oops.
Yeah, that's fine.
I need to grab my phone anyway because
we're off to an inauspicious start.
Yes. It's
Dadgummit.
200th episode is looking good so far.
About par for the course.
Yeah. We thought about our title today being the 200th episode, either much to do about nothing or
that was a good one, actually. I like that.
Yeah, much to do about nothing, or the 200th episode, how we've learned to oversell and underdeliver.
I like it. I do like it.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Jason Rodriguez just said Russian interference. I mean, we should be on the lookout for that today. I did see on. What did you see? Oh man, it was so weird. It was somebody had posted a video or something. It said, be careful of your ballot because there was a dot inside the box of the Kamala Harris selection on the ballot.
Yeah.
And it said if there's something inside the dot, it throws away the ballot.
Ooh.
And they said these are showing up somehow in predominantly Republican areas.
Do we want to get into,
I don't know, conspiracy? So today, everyone, like, we're prepping you ahead of time, and our pinhead saw that as well. So here's our deal today. Okay.
Yeah.
The title is So everybody, we're going to do this like kind of a pre-prep. Okay. So our title today is, I don't know, you tell me, the 200th episode Anti-Diatribe. That's a great word, by the way.
It is.
Anti-Diatribe. So here's the point. It's election day, and our podcast is with people, not at people. Right. So we don't want to have a conversation at people. That's a lot of podcasts do that. So we're having a podcast with people. So to celebrate the idea of conversations in a time or a season of, political commercials and hostility and hate and arrogant diatribes, and you don't know what you're talking about, you're such an idiot, blah, 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 blah. We aren't going to tell you what we're going to talk about. We want you to tell us what to talk about. So that's the title. I don't know. You tell me.
I like it.
That's a phrase. That's a phrase, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The irony of that title. I mean, that's a phrase that probably for at least a couple of months has not been vocalized a lot. I don't know. You tell me. Wow.
Dude, for real. Nobody
that's,
says that.
Dude, that's not been. Nobody said that in the last 2 months.
People are like, said that.
Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me tell you something. So
it's awesome.
Anyway, it's going to be good. I mean, I think it's going to be good. We need Pinhead. I'm trying to look at the picture there. It's kind of a little bit of a clandestine deal. Darwin Lopez.
Yeah. What?
See, Darwin. Yeah. What? He's evolved into confusion. Darwin.
Well, he's going to fit right in then. He's going to fit right in.
That's the 200th episode. We've evolved into confusion. Come join us, Darwin.
Oh man, this is awesome. This is officially the overpromise, underdeliver episode 100%.
100%, man. Oh, that's the thing about it.
We have no giveaways. We have no prizes. It's just,
I do have a giveaway.
Do you?
I do. I was going to surprise you with it.
Oh, let's go.
You want me to go get it and show you on the screen, or what do you want to do, like an unveiling, or what do we want to do?
Let's do it when we go live. Like, I'll surprise me when we go live. I mean, not live, but when we recording.
Yeah, when we 3, 2, 1 it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, the thing about it is let's don't put it out there too loud on YouTube. Let's don't put it out there too loud that we're like, I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to talk about today?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Within reason.
Yes, that's right.
Within reason.
Apparently, they didn't think through this too good. Really? Really? You're on the 200th episode and you just figured that part out?
For real. Hey, give us the weather report.
Chief Meteorologist Ken Bistarki checking in this morning, saying 68 degrees with a high of 76 in Northeast Ohio. What a day. Looks like they are going to break a record today in Northeast Ohio. And considering the Cleveland Browns record, they need to break some kind of a record. They need to
for real. Which is a good segue into the sports portion of this program.
Exactly. I love to segue into that. Right. Speaking of sports, did you get to watch? This is our Chief Meteorologist Ken Bistarki and our Chief Sports Analyst Chris Dillingham.
Yes,
otherwise known as Cree Dillahan. Did you happen to see the Monday Night Football last night?
I did not, Ken. I did not. Can I be honest with you right now?
You can be anything you want to be with me. This is our 200th episode.
I've lost a lot of interest in football. NFL is just boring right now.
Dude, NFL is boring, and which is the very reason why I brought up the game last night, which was actually not boring. Was it
Interesting.
was very strange. Yeah, Kansas City was up, what was it, 21-14, I think it was. And Tampa had the ball. They had, of course, Tampa Bay had, I don't know, 3 receivers out, and I mean, it was just like
Yeah, right. Mike
he
Evans is out.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was hobbling together an offense. It was funny at the start of the second half, he had thrown 4 passes to running backs, 4 passes to tight ends, and 2 passes to his wide receivers. So that tells you
Crazy.
where he's at. But anyway, they got the ball like on the 30-yard line with like 2 minutes to go, marched down the field and scored to send it into overtime.
Oh, wow. Let's go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. But as fate would have it, they had the coin toss rigged, and they had the yeah right. Jason Rodriguez says it's not boring if you're a Lions fan.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say
Yeah.
was part of the reason I'm sure is because my Bears are an absolute train wreck. I
What
mean,
a
they're just
train wreck.
the organization is just a train wreck, and then you add on top of that, the Lions are halfway decent for the first time in the last 127 years, and if you talk to a Lions fan, it's the greatest assembly of a team in the history of the NFL, and
Yeah.
they're winning the Super Bowl like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I
But I
think
kind
part
of
of
hope
this
they do, though. I kind of hope
no,
they do,
no,
though.
no,
Yeah.
no, no,
Well,
no, no,
here's
no, bro,
well,
no.
here's the
You
deal.
gotta live up here.
Matthew Stafford, though, here's the deal. Matthew Stafford goes out to LA, and everybody's like, poor Matthew Stafford, doggone it. He spent all those years at Detroit and so on and so forth. And they do a straight up swap, like a quarterback swap. And here comes Goff, and Goff's like, for real? Like, I'm going from LA to Detroit. Like, that's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, what am I, deodorant?
Deodorant.
Why are they trading me to Detroit? Am I deodorant or something? And so, they'll get that in a minute.
Right.
And so, I feel like I'm like, man, Jared Goff. And so what's he do? He's like, oh, okay, okay. And just kind of turn it around. I don't know. I'm just thinking like an underdog story.
Yeah, but here's what we know. Lions are gonna lion at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're just gonna be they're just gonna Lions are gonna Lions at some point. So,
Ay, ay, ay.
see if I can get them see if I
Yeah.
can get them oh, yeah, yeah, not the first time, championship last year. That is true. That is
Bro,
true.
you know what? You know what's so crazy? I was watching the World Series, going back to something really crazy. I was watching the World Series. Did you see the play where Cubs first baseman
Rizzo?
Rizzo, Anthony Rizzo? Did you see the play where he feels the ball and the pitcher doesn't cover,
Mhm.
and it turned
Garrett
the
Cole.
whole inning around?
5 was it 4 or 5 unearned runs in that
That
inning?
dude, like it turned everything around, and I'm like, bro,
Well, and it was it
Rizzo had brought the goat from Wrigley to the Yankees. That's such a goat. Buckner. It was like, it wasn't quite a Buckner thing.
Well, it was really Cole's fault. Like, first the pitcher's gotta cover first, and that whole inning was cursed.
Right.
Judge, I think, had his
Right.
first error
Yeah, no, it
in
wasn't Rizzo's
whatever and
fault. It wasn't
whatever.
Rizzo's fault. I'm just saying
Ah,
that the curse kind of got in
yeah.
there
Yeah,
somehow.
Danny Aruda. Aruda, come on, tell us about your Yankee thoughts, Aruda. He is a diehard. He was telling everybody, and he predicted correctly that they were gonna win, game 5 or whatever, they lost in game 6, whatever it was, and so
Yeah.
but man, that inning was absolutely brutal, and the shortstop, which is named Bosky or something like that, who was the kind of the
I know.
hero guy, he had an error, and
Judge, I mean, like he hits a homer and then makes this big play off the wall, and it's like, oh, bro, the Yankees might be
yeah, they might come back.
they may do like a 4 games in a row kind of thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, he like like I'm serious. I'm sitting there thinking Rizzo brought the goat with him.
He did, but we broke the curse, so there is no
That's
goat
what I'm
anymore.
saying.
He was part of the breaking of the curse, so
Yeah,
which was just, 8 years ago, a
he
couple
said it
days
was
ago.
brutal. Aruda said it was brutal. It was
He's
that
so bitter.
Don't you think though? Don't you think that the judge catch
Jason Rodriguez. They're bringing judges on square hoping the ball drop. That's cold-blooded, man. That is
that I don't to
cold-blooded.
me that was like I don't know, to me that was sort of felt like the turning point. It was like something was like, "Uh-oh." When he dropped that ball, you're like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah, yeah.
Poor Danny Arruda, he was probably sitting there watching the game thinking to himself, like he was throwing one of those styrofoam bricks at the
Oh,
TV.
I guarantee he was throwing stuff. If you know Arruda, my man was
Mhm.
my man was getting a little fired up. I promise you that. So, listen, Yankee fans get no sympathy from anybody. You
For real.
spend $100 bazillion and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, got there. Cole was like, "The first base is way over there. How can I get?"
And what I love about it is he stood there with his arms like, "What are you doing,
Yeah,
Rizzo?"
go tag the base. Or I'm like, bro, that's kind of like you learned that in little league.
I know. That's the first as soon as that ball gets hit that way, you immediately run to first base, and so,
Yeah.
yeah. Listen, what I say is it couldn't have happened to a nicer team. So I'm not complaining about it.
What's so
I'm
amazing
gonna
is
see if I
we
can
have
offend
Lions fans.
everybody
Well,
today.
dadgummit, we got Lions fans and Yankees fans, the only people on our entire podcast right now. And today it's you bring the conversation to us. Like we're killing our own selves here.
I know. We're ripping them. So, oh, man, that's funny. Here's what I know. Arruda would be giving it. If it was like the Cubs, I guarantee Arruda would be giving it to us. So
Yeah,
it's good to give it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's all in good fun.
Yeah,
It's all in good
it's
fun.
better to give than to receive.
I mean, we could go into politics and just alienate everybody. So if we wanted to,
We're going to retitle it not the Anti-Diatribe, but the Diatribe.
that's right. That's right. All right, Sid 26, you ready to rock and roll?
Let's go.
Yeah. Little one last sports deal. Gary Gother. So about football, I've kind of lost interest in football, and I'm pumped about college basketball. I watched Michigan last night. Michigan looks good. I didn't realize that. They look really
Michigan's
good.
tough.
They got a really good coach, Dusty Mason. He's an excellent coach, and Illinois looks amazing this year. They're gonna have their bumps and bruises because they're really young, but they have got some unbelievable talent. So it's gonna be a good year, man.
For real. Let's get
Hama wants to know if Trump is going to join us today.
We're just waiting for the call. We're waiting for the call. He's supposed to, he's supposed to give us a call. I don't know.
Yeah, and in accordance with FCC guidelines, we've invited both candidates to join us. So
Right.
we don't want to be like Saturday Night Live
For real. We don't want to be like Saturday Night Live
in any way, shape, or form. We don't want to be like Saturday Night Live, meaning we don't want to be unfunny. So anyway, boom. All right, here we go. You ready to go?
Let's go.
Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mobilized Church Podcast. This is Chris Dillingham alongside my kin. Let's try that again.
My kinfolk. Alongside my kinfolk.
You know what was happening? You know what's funny is I was reading a comment while I was doing that. That's the first time in 200 episodes, bro.
Alongside my kinfolk,
Woo,
otherwise known as my big brother.
I knew that was gonna happen. My ADD was off the charts. I was reading comments while I was doing that, and I was going, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's try that again. Let's redo that.
It's like riding a bike.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mobilized Church Podcast. This is Chris Dillingham alongside my big brother Ken Dillingham Jr. the third on this special edition of the Mobilized Church Podcast. This is episode 200, and this is what we are officially calling the Overpromise Underdeliver episode.
It is. I mean, bro, if anybody ever wanted something really bad and got a pair of socks or underwear for your birthday, this is your episode.
This is it. This is it. Although you did say, so I said in the pre-show that we're not doing any giveaways or whatever, and you kind of teased it that we're doing a little something. So we're going.
Let me go get it.
He's
Let
gonna
me
go
go get
get
it. I'm gonna
that.
go get it
So,
right now.
oh
I'm gonna
boy.
leave the frame, something I've never done, leaving the frame right now.
Oh my goodness, just breaking all kinds of rules and whatever on this 200th episode. We've had a pretty lively pre-show. We've
All
offended
right, you
all of the
ready?
Lions fans.
You
We've
ready?
offended
Here it
everybody.
is.
Yeah, let's what you got? What is it? Oh, little Mobilized Church, little
I've got a
Mobilized Church
Mobilized Church
merch.
Network all-season jacket, black with gray, with the Mobilized Church Network logo, gray. Now, this one here is an extra large. We could probably, obviously, we know not everybody wears an extra large, but we can get you your sizing. But here you go. There it is.
My
What
goodness.
do you think of that, bud?
That is amazing.
I've had it sitting here for a few days waiting for you to show you, and there
Come
we go.
on, man. So how are we gonna do this?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Let's think of that along the way.
Let's do that. Let's do that. So today I gotta acknowledge Hummel's comment. KGD Junior the third can remove his headphones and his hair stays in perfect shape. You've got the Dan Patrick hair of church podcasts. For those of you that are familiar with Dan Patrick.
Darren Sargent kept saying the whole Life Talks, and then he enfolds it into his preliminary remarks when he preached for us last Sunday. He kept calling me Pastor Ken Dillingham, the greatest hair in Pentecost.
Nice.
I'm like, what are you talking about, bro?
Did you tell him that it's fake, that you had implants?
Yeah,
Did you tell him that?
I told him, I said, I can connect you with the implant guy. That was the one where, dippity do. That was the one where I was telling him, I said, what I've learned is, I said, if I put the little bit more of a shiny gel in, it actually kind of like the gray kind of goes away and the darker comes out. And he goes, that's called Just for Men. That's not gel, bro. That's what he said.
That's right. Yeah. Ken doing a plug for plugs today.
Yep.
That's what we're doing.
I got plugs and then a weave. This is a weave. I don't pull it too hard.
Today's episode brought to you by Hair Club for Men. Look, I'm not just a member. I'm not just the president. I'm a member.
I said, Rogaine didn't work for me.
Oh man, this is gonna be a great day today. Yeah. Chance Lewis makes a statement. Over promise, under deliver seems fitting on election day. So yeah, today, election day.
Oh my golly.
So we're just following the theme. We're just following the theme of the day. So it's gonna be
we're going to mention everybody. Pinhead, man, for real.
Yes.
This episode's making history. You know what? I appreciate the fact that you're with us today and you recognize greatness.
I feel a little bad about calling a guy Pinhead, but that's his name.
That's his name on X. That's his name on X.
That's what he chose. He chose Pinhead. So
yep.
That's what we're going to call him.
It takes a bold man. I don't know where Darwin went. He must have not liked the evolution statement I made.
He asked the question. And we're not really 100% sure what the question was in reference.
Yeah, there was no period, question mark, or whatever. We interpret it.
It might not have been a question. It's just a statement.
What? Like, that's kind of weird to even consider as a statement.
It is.
Hey, bro, I got something to tell you. What?
That's powerful. That is powerful.
It could turn into like a who's on first type thing.
Man, for real.
By the way, where was what in that skit?
Where was what? I don't even know. Who was on first?
Who was on first? What was on second base? Oh boy.
Man, somebody had
Bro,
to
let's go down. We're going down the road of overpromise and underdeliver.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's what we're doing right now.
Oh man. Abbott and Costello. Somebody's got to remember that. Somebody can tell us.
Has to.
Who and what that all was all about. I have no idea.
Hey, speaking of which, look at this.
What is it?
Look at this.
It's backwards.
Is it for real?
It is for real. Lifeway Church. I'm reading it backwards, but it's backwards.
Oh, that's weird. It must flip you somehow on the screen. I didn't realize that. Okay. So here we go. Hold on. Look, I'll show you this. This is another unveiling. Look, can you read that backwards?
I cannot.
That is the Morning Sentinel, Egypt's greatest daily, Randy List.
Oh, Randy List.
Okay. There's that. We're doing all kinds of, this is like
Are you just randomly grabbing stuff?
It's like a YouTube video. Look, in honor of Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh says, open line Friday.
That's what it feels like.
The greatest risk in radio to let you decide with the greatness that is us. And we're letting you decide the conversation, which of course we haven't talked about anything that anybody what was on third? Kim Bastarkey said what was on third?
I don't know who's on third.
Oh, he said, I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know who's on third. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, it just
Centralia
looks like
Sports Hall of Fame.
What?
Yep. Dear Ken, on behalf of the Centralia Sports Hall of Fame Committee, it's our pleasure to inform you of your induction into the Hall as a member of the 1986-87 Basketball Orphans in the team category. The dinner ceremonies will be held on December 14th at the Castle Ridge Event Center. As a member of the team, you will receive a complimentary ticket. Additional tickets may be available, blah, 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 blah. We hope you'll be able to join us, so on and so forth.
Let's go.
It says, if you have any questions, feel free to contact the Hall of Fame committee members, Don Walker, Nancy Friels, David Agee, A-G-E,
sure,
or myself. See enclosed card. Again, congratulations on your induction and achievements in helping create and maintain the rich legacy of Centralia Sports.
Let's go. So I've got a dad who's in a sports hall of fame as a coach, and now a brother who's in a sports hall of fame as a basketball player. And
here we go.
I got nothing.
Hey, it's proof and evidence, though. Here's the deal.
No, I'm like, what's the Manning brother that does it?
Yeah.
So there's Eli and there's Peyton, and then there's
Eli Peyton and the guy you can't remember his name.
Although the other dude produced Arch Manning, who's going to be a legendary quarterback at Texas right now. So
true.
So that's my what's what I'm looking for.
That's your claim to fame. That's your route to success.
What I'm adding to.
Yes. Oh, your contribution.
There, that's what I was looking for. My contribution to society. There we
go. I was thinking like that's my vicarious life through. I'm trying to like
Gary Gothier, he said I'm like the brother of Pat Mahomes. Jesus have mercy. I hope not, man.
Said Holly. Chris has a plaque at City Barbecue. That is true.
That's exactly right. It's like here at the church. So there's been 3 pastors in the last
106 years,
72 years of the church here at Toledo. And Pastor Fred Kinsey is in the UPC Hall of Fame. Pastor Mark Jordan is in the UPC Hall of Fame. And I told our church 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So
that's so awesome. No, you have to get into that.
I'm not going to, bro.
That'll be your way into the hall, man.
I should get in. Just for what we did, our 3-minute offering at General Conference.
Hey, listen, and what do they call it? The Hall of Faith? What do they call that?
The Hall of Faith, I think. Yeah. UPC Hall of Faith.
Huh. Yeah. Well,
anyway.
And I mean, look, those guys, there's just these guys who are like, yeah, I could have played pro ball if I hadn't become a minister. You hear these guys talking all the time.
That's me. That's me. I gave up a lucrative pro baseball career to go into ministry. So yeah, exactly.
Lucrative.
All right. So this is apropos.
Yes.
Apropos of the show right here. We're already off the rails, and I think this is a perfect 200th episode for
It
the
is.
Mobilized Church
It
podcast.
is. People are like, "What was it about? What was your 200th episode about?" And we're like, "That's the."
I literally had somebody come up to me the other day and said, we love the pre-show, but you guys get so serious after that. You need to, like, do that the whole time." So, like,
We're
thanks a lot.
hey, we're pre-showing it across the 200th episode finish line.
We're gonna do the whole thing. So,
Yeah.
all right. Like, it is gonna be a lively conversation today. This is why don't you set it up for us today and just tell us,
Yeah.
because we need interaction, we need engagement. We've already got a bunch of people commenting and giving us some content for the show today. So why don't you set us up and tell us what today, the 200th episode. They said we'd
Okay.
never make it, bro. Here we are, episode
Yeah.
200.
They said we'd never make it, but we have
Here we are.
arrived. So today, our title for this episode is "I Don't Know, You Tell Me," the 200th episode Anti-Diatribe.
I like it.
That's our title. I don't know, you tell me, the 200th episode Anti-Diatribe, and we feel like that's a fitting title.
Yeah.
A diatribe is sort of a diatribe is like kind of a scathing or a like a hostile like takedown, verbal takedown,
Yeah.
of like you're so stupid, you probably don't even know, blah 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 blah. And it's, so in this season, right? um which is not just the season, but this is election day. I think
Mm.
it's just so fitting on the 200th episode that on election day, where we've had just, my God, have mercy, unending. Like, I'm like, you know what? Whoever wins the election, when it's all said and done, the American people win because the ads go away.
Jesus have
And,
mercy. I'm so sick of the phone calls and the texts and
yeah.
unbelievable.
And the reality is there's a lot of diatribes. There's a lot of, so our podcast, we say this is a conversation with people, not at them.
Yeah.
And in this last season, like for the last couple of months, there's been a lot of conversations at people, and there've been a lot of diatribes, and there's been a lot of hate and hostility and political whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Political commentary and all of this stuff.
All this
And
stuff.
and probably like the phrase that would encapsulate it all is probably the phrase is like, "You don't know what you're talking about. Let me tell you something." So the anti-diatribe to that would be the heartbeat of a spiritual conversation, which
Yeah.
isn't, "You don't know what you're talking about. Let me tell you something." Right? That's an at conversation. We're going to do the anti-diatribe on election day for our 200th episode. And it is, I don't know, you tell me, right? A
I love
conversation
that.
with people. So,
I love that. And I
yeah.
do think it is an antidote to what's happening in our world today, because just about 98% of conversations. So again, 73% of all statistics are made up on the spot. So 98% of conversations that are happening right
Yeah.
now,
Right.
the goal is not to listen.
Right.
The goal is not to understand. It's not
No.
trying to hear from somebody else's perspective on why they're voting a certain way or why they've come to a certain conclusion, why they support a certain agenda, whatever. It is to create a narrative, right?
Right. That's very
Which
true.
there's a lot of
Right.
there's a lot of interesting things with politics to like understand communication and the power and the importance of communication, and
Mhm.
like the narrative that's created just by a statement. You have, like, at the end of this election, Ken, think about this. At the end of the election, people are saying that this election, with all of the major issues out there, okay?
Okay.
You ready for this?
Bring it.
3 of the major issues that
Uh-huh.
could decide this election,
Okay.
okay?
So you're saying of all of the issues that it could be,
Right,
these
right.
are the three. This is
And
the
a
big three?
Yeah, you
Okay.
ready?
Right. Here we go.
An obscure comedian calls Puerto Rico trash,
Hmm.
so people are gonna switch their votes because of that.
Uh-huh.
Biden calls
Ah.
Trump supporters and Trump people
Uh-huh.
garbage,
Yes. Yes.
so Trump gets in a garbage truck, okay?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So an obscure
Which, by the
comedian makes
way,
a joke.
most brilliant,
Oh,
like
man,
him or
absolutely.
not, love him, hate him, whatever,
He's a marketing genius, bro,
most brilliant political troll of all time.
of all times. So an obscure comedian
Yeah.
making a joke, and this is what he does. He's a roaster, and so he makes this joke, and so, like, you got that one. You got Biden, who is clearly, how can I say this?
The assumptive
Mentally
sitting president.
debilitated. Well, he's
Oh,
mentally
oh, oh,
debilitated. Clearly, there's some issues going on there with
right.
that. And then the third one
You're welcoming a diatribe, sir.
I am. And then the third one is Peanut the squirrel.
What?
Peanut the squirrel. Okay, so all the issues we're facing in our world, those are the
Yeah.
3 issues that people are
Mm.
pounding and pounding about. Like, that's what they're
Yeah.
talking about. Why? Because they're creating a narrative, they're creating,
Yeah.
a view and a perspective and whatever. And it reveals so much about our
Yeah.
world
Bro.
that there's not it's not about
Yeah.
listening, it's not about understanding, it's not about any of that kind of stuff. It's about how can I get my message out to people and shape the
Yes.
conversation and shape
Yeah.
the discussion, which okay,
Style over substance.
right, and that's great in a political arena.
Yeah.
But in everyday life, that's kind of what our world has become with, like, social media and all that kind of stuff. Like, man, we'll put stuff out on social media, and we wanna control the narrative. We wanna create a perspective that people are viewing their world through,
Yes.
versus what we're talking about today is as spirit-filled believers in what Jesus did. I mean, obviously, Jesus conveyed the value system of the kingdom, but
Yes.
he was the master of asking the questions to get people to share where they were and what was going on. And so that's what we want to do today is we're not here to come and go on some diatribe
No.
about we could have a conversation about politics and how voting and all that affects things. And like, we can have that conversation, whatever. But what we want to do is we want to hear from people, Ken. We want to hear from
Uh-huh.
you
For real.
and just engage that conversation in real time and model and demonstrate and just and not only that, but just do what we should be doing, which is just having conversations with people.
Yeah. So Chance Lewis says that Peanut was obviously a threat to humanity. Changed my mind.
There you go. That's like those people that go to campuses, right? And they'll make a statement and they'll say,
Yeah.
"Change my mind," which, it is kind of it presents the idea
Yes.
that it's open discussion.
Yes.
But
Changed my
in
mind.
reality
Right.
it's I'm gonna show you why your view against what I just said, why you're wrong and I'm right.
So, um,
So maybe talk about that.
so I want you to tell me a little bit more about Peanut the squirrel because I never really followed it much.
So
His
there's a
mom was hit by a
guy
car.
there's a guy in New York
Yeah,
that
his name is
rescued a
Longo.
squirrel and a raccoon, I think,
Okay.
and I don't really remember, maybe somebody can help us out, but I think somebody reported them that they had, like, these pets in their home, and so they were like their pets, and so somehow they got reported, and the authorities came, and there was, like, video and whatever, and the authorities took Peanut the squirrel and
Mm.
exterminated him.
Who did it? Buddy. Well, it says Longo decided to bring Peanut back to his home and bottle feed him for 8 months. Okay, so look, I'm just going to tell you right now, Mr. Longo, it doesn't take 8 months to wean a squirrel. Just FYI, bro. That squirrel was playing you, dude. That
Dude,
squirrel was playing you.
for
It's
real.
like the squirrel's like, I can't drink on my own. Please get me another bottle. So it says that's when he claimed he released the squirrel into his Pine City, New York backyard, only for the critter to return a few days later with half of his tail missing.
Oh,
Apparently, after an attack by another.
apparently.
From that day forward, Peanut was an indoor squirrel. Longo telling the Times of the rodent he's 24/7 cage free his entire life. He was a cage free squirrel. That's
He's a
amazing.
cage-free
So,
squirrel, so
right.
you
So
could eat him and put
it'd been organic, cage free. That's right. I wonder if he laid cage-free eggs. The Instagram and TikTok accounts for the animal gained thousands of followers, and Longo and Daniela announced plans for a wildlife sanctuary, Peanuts Freedom Farm, sometimes with an apostrophe, usually without.
Okay.
What?
All right. Whatever.
I don't know. I'm reading on Vanity Fair.
So what happened?
Well, Longo was happily clinging along, clinging. I read the word chugging and I thought it wasn't chugging because I'm like, this is not a beer drinking squirrel. And it says, all right, Longo is happily chugging along, monetizing both peanut and I'm afraid to read this. Okay.
Yeah, skip it.
Okay.
Don't get us banned or whatever. Don't get us YouTube.
Well,
flag.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cross posting content on both accounts. Okay. Like a video of Longo wearing extremely form-fitting gray sweatpants. I'm not sure if I need to go on with this.
So what happened to him?
Then on October 30th,
we want to know what happened to him.
Here it is. People, inquiring minds want to know. Paul Harvey will be back with the rest of the story. Then on October 30th, the New York Department of Environmental.
There you go.
Yes, the Conservation Department came a knocking.
Government overreach.
With a warrant and seized both the celebrity squirrel and a civilian raccoon named Fred.
What's a civilian raccoon?
He's out of the military. he was initially
part of the raccoon military.
That's right. He's not in the raccoon military. Division. He was a mercenary raccoon, but now he's just a civilian. According to Longo, government agents trashed the house. Oh, they were probably looking for Melania's undies. Following multiple reports from the public about the potentially unsafe housing of wildlife that could carry rabies in the league. I mean, my dog could carry rabies, people. And the illegal keeping of wildlife as pets, DEC conducted an investigation. It says 2 days later, the Bureau euthanized both animals, explaining that one had bitten an agent and they needed to be tested for rabies.
Peanut the squirrel.
So it says when Longo shared about Peanut's transfer to government custody, it sparked outrage, and so he became, he said, a tiny martyr. Yeah.
Sorry, that just hit me. A tiny martyr.
A tiny martyr. Tiny martyr.
The little guy in the back. Don't tell that story. Don't tell that story.
He's just a tiny martyr. I wouldn't make fun of midget martyrs.
You were gonna go there. I knew you were gonna go there.
Oh, crud. So anyway, yeah. So I don't know. Pastor Chance Lewis, maybe Peanut was a threat to humanity. Maybe, I don't know. Sounds like he was just, it sounded like he was just living the high life.
Just living the good life.
Drinking from a bottle and eating whatever he wanted.
And the raccoon
Pringles. He probably was eating Pringles.
Raccoon was just happy to be out of the military, just enjoying civilian life.
And then next thing you know, he's martyred. I mean, right?
I'm telling you. Martyred.
God, this is weird. Okay. So yeah, and so then we got to mention Gary Gothier says doesn't it seem like we've come a long way since they're eating the dogs? Yeah, I mean a long way in what direction?
Right.
Although you know what, the thing about it is, and I read something, this has been not in this recent political season, but I read something about comedy, and they were talking about, and I think this is still our audience determining the conversation here, by bringing up this whole idea. Well, you kind of brought it up too, but this they were talking about how that these comedians, that there's something about comedy where people talk, they talk about stuff that's a little bit off limits, and they kind of, they make fun of everybody, and there's nobody who's safe, and it's like, look, it's comedy, bro, just
Yeah.
chill, right? and there and the sociologist was actually saying that the evidence of sort of the dangerous place that our culture has gotten
Yeah.
is the fact that even comedy now is off limits. Like it's
Yeah.
like it's clearly comedy. It's not, but people are so pent up and so geared toward that you can't say that comedians have been,
Well,
trying to be
even
canceled, right?
yeah, even the Tony Hinchcliffe comment, you know, what's interesting about that is there is a trash problem in Puerto Rico. Like it's a documented issue. So like he was like legitimately bringing up a
Yeah.
real issue that people in Puerto Rico know about,
Yes.
but it
Floating
but it didn't
garbage.
matter. It didn't matter that it was like a legitimate deal, you know?
Yeah.
And I do think that what you've seen, I think Dave Chappelle probably was the one who led the charge on this.
Okay.
Like, there was the season of, the wokeness stuff where, you can't offend anybody, don't say anything, whatever. And then you had guys like Dave Chappelle that just came out and was like, "You know what? There's nothing you can do. Cancel me, whatever. I don't even
Yeah.
care." And it's
Right.
just and so then that kind of opened up kind of
Right.
a pendulum swing the other way, and now you have a culture that has like those guys are the biggest, stars on Instagram and TikTok and all those. They're getting the most followers and reels, man. There's reels one after the other of these comedians that have taken that route where they
Yeah.
just go after like the most offensive stuff. They say racist stuff. They say whatever. So like, there's kind of this pushback, which is an interesting cultural conversation, right?
Right. This sociologist, by the way, was saying that comedy is actually what cultures do to sort of get relief from the ongoing pressure of things that just there seems to be no resolution to them. And
Yeah.
so when there's so basically what this sociologist was saying was that when you have sociocultural scenarios like a war or whatever, that like, they would do these, like Bob Hope would go, they were giving this example, like Bob Hope would go and he would get on these aircraft carriers and
Yeah.
he would do this show,
Yeah.
this comedy act, and you think about it and it seems extremely out of place. Like, dude, you're on a destroyer ship. You're on an aircraft carrier
Yeah.
and you're doing a comedy act to these soldiers who are putting their life on the line. That seems a little, that's like a little out of place. But
Yeah.
what this sociologist was saying was like, no, that's actually how we've learned. That's a coping mechanism. And so, basically what she was saying that like if we've gotten to the place where we can't even have comedy,
Yeah.
we're in trouble. And so John Hummel is, by the way, Puerto Rican, he says here.
He's Puerto
Um,
Rican, which, yeah,
so I was
obviously we
wondering if
can
he
I'm sure
was
he was highly offended
offended.
by that joke by that
Yeah.
joke. I do wanna so I was gonna mention before you kind of went into your peanut the squirrel
Yes.
story time there.
Yeah.
Chance Lewis makes this comment, and so
Okay.
again, people are guiding the conversation today. That's what we're doing is following the conversation. I think this is a good discussion. So he says, "I think," in quotes, "change my mind in our cultural context is worth discussing. Our goal is to make disciples, people that Jesus change what they care about. Yet most people are so set in their beliefs, they're not open to any change at all, present company included." So talk to that change my mind culture. Cause
Mhm.
most people probably have seen if you're on, X or any social media really, you're probably familiar with like Charlie Kirk, right? Who goes to
Yeah.
these universities and he engages students, typically like liberal students who have a view and just open it up. And you have like him. I've seen Vivek Ramaswamy that has done this. He's gone to the deal. And now I've seen the deal. I don't really understand it. I've only seen the clips, but you'll have like and it's conservatives and liberals. You'll have a
Mhm.
person who's kind of like the expert,
Yeah.
and then there'll be a group of people, and they'll, like, race to the chair in the middle,
Yeah.
right? Have you seen that? They race
I
to the chair in the middle,
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it
and
yet.
they'll do like a 3-minute conversation, and then when they're done, somebody else will race up the chair and have a conversation. So it's like this has kind of become I think there is a hunger for good communication, but most of it is built around how do I convince you that I'm
Yeah.
right and you're wrong? So
Yeah.
talk about the change my mind culture and how that affects us.
Yeah, I think it's, that is an interesting point. I'm glad that, Chance brings this up because I think that it is, as you mentioned, it is an example of the fact that there's a lot of awareness of sort of that closed-mindedness, like that there's it's almost like the example of comedy
Yeah,
where it's one of those deals where it's like, we need to lighten up a little bit. We need to recognize that, like some of this is asinine. Like we
yeah,
need somebody to be able to say, "Hey, hey, stop. Don't take yourself so seriously for crying out
sure,
loud."
sure.
And so comedy kind of does that. Comedy sort of resets. It's like, bro, you need a control alt delete right now. And
Mhm,
and I think that the change my mind thing
mhm.
is almost like an invitation to like I have an opinion, but we can't even discuss our opinions because we've gotten to the point where we just yell our opinions at each other
Yeah,
and they're like and it's like the Iron Dome in Israel. Like the Iron Dome, it's like the Iron Dome of spiritual or of conversations, of philosophical. The Iron Dome, like Iran is going to start shooting missiles
yeah,
and they're just shooting missiles. Why?
yeah.
Because they're going to be, we got the videos of them, the rockets are
Mhm.
going up and shooting them midair. And that's people, that's become the sort of the conversation. It's like you're shooting missiles, but they're shooting missiles back and they're just exploding into the air. And it's like, why are we wasting all this money? Why are we wasting all this time? It's almost to me like that change my mind thing is almost like this. It's almost like this conversation. Like, look, I'm willing to have the conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's, change my mind, meaning I'm not here to change your mind. If you can change my mind, but at least let's start with that. I'm open. Let's have the discussion. And I think that at the very least, for me, it causes us to be able to look at, in a world where there's so much hostility and just vehemence
Yeah.
as it relates to what people believe, that there's look, I don't want to have a conversation with you. Like I just, I want to erase you from the planet. And that, man, that's just dangerous. And so, the change my mind thing is probably good for that.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think it's a misnomer. Like, it
Yeah.
sounds good, and I
Yeah.
wish
Right.
what you were saying were true,
Right.
but I think the reality is the change my mind culture is really my mind is already made up. There's not anything you can say.
Right.
So, I'm gonna use this as an opportunity for you to expose your ignorance so I can show you that I'm right and you're wrong.
True.
You know
No,
what
no,
I'm
no.
saying?
No, no. I believe that 100%. I'm just saying that I'm saying like, is it related to like Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
I think Charlie Kirk is going to these campuses. I think he is going to the campus to try to say, look, if you can argue your point, it's just that you're only hearing one side. So
Yeah.
let's somehow have a conversation where at least
Definitely.
if you walk away believing what you believed when you got here, no harm, no foul. But
Yeah.
it's not healthy for you to absolutely just simply put a wall up and say, I don't even want to hear what you have to say.
Yes.
But you've
Yeah.
only ever heard one side. Like Charlie Kirk he kind of tells those students, like, you're only hearing one thing.
Yeah.
Those
That's a
professors
great
are
point.
only telling you one thing, at least hear the other thing, and then you're free to go about your business.
Yeah. Now I think that's a great point, is broadening the perspective, so at least you have something to compare it to versus the echo chamber, right? Because again, social media and all this stuff is algorithmed in
Yep.
such a way that you
Yep.
only hear typically what you wanna hear. You can
Right.
silence the other voices if you want to. I don't like it, so I'm gonna silence it, and,
Yep.
so I think that's a great point. I think the danger we have to be careful with is, like, from the disciple making perspective, we don't fall into, the trap of feeling like, if I can provide you with enough information, I'm gonna change your mind. You know, I think hearing and listening to people is really important. Gary Gauthier, and I think this flows really good with it. Gary Gauthier brings up about Joe Rogan and his podcast. He says he draws in so many listeners models what we as disciple makers should consider: sitting and having deep conversations with the goal of understanding and really finding out who people are. It's counter to the drive-by, soundbite
Mm.
driven media mode of shaping public opinion.
Mm.
I was just looking. So Rogan has 14.5 million followers on Spotify, YouTube 16.4 million
Phew.
subscribers,
Golly.
Instagram 18.9 million followers. So he's just a little bit, just slightly ahead of the Mobilized Church Network. So he's just
Yeah.
kind of in the same category, but a little
But
bit
we're
ahead of
catching.
us.
We're gaining on him.
Especially after today. We know we're gonna catch. But Gary brings up a great point, because his podcast broke the mold. And, even like the Tucker Carlson thing, and how, like, going away from traditional media outlets and having their own place to do this kind of stuff, it has created an environment. And Rogan made the statement about Kamala, and they were asking him, like, why are you gonna have Kamala on? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got your buddies with Elon, you have Trump on for 3 hours and whatever. Why do you want Kamala on? What would you ask her? And he said over and over again, they kept pressing him. He said, "Look, I just wanna get to know her. Like, I
Yeah.
wanna know her as a person. I like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
sh
like you have these canned 60-minute things.
yes, you're
Nobody
gonna give me
knows the.
your policy statements, then the
Yes.
pre-crafted,
Yes.
whatever." He's like, "I just wanna ask her
Let's just
questions to
talk.
get to know people and talk," which is an
Let's just
amazing
talk.
concept,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just talk. Golly. It's like, no, because here's what happens though. What happens is, I think this is interesting because I think that the political discourse is almost like, wow, it's almost like what you see in like an attractional church model.
Yeah,
It's we're going to put on the facade. We're going to put on like the best thing, and that's the way we're going to interface with you.
yeah,
We're going to we're going to put on this is the way we do things. This is our campus. This is what we have to offer, blah 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 blah. And what's interesting is that the greatest movements on the planet are movements where people are actually sitting down and talking about what, you know, like what's amazing is the Jesus model is, hey, Zacchaeus, you're interested, you're clearly interested, you're perching yourself in a position where, you can see me and we can make eye contact. I'm going to your house today. Jesus basically invites himself to dinner.
yeah,
Why? Because Jesus created a movement, as somebody said, and I'm trying to see who it was that said that that ultimately it's the idea of saying, like, it's whether or not somebody has true curiosity.
yeah.
But
I think Gary mentioned that about
yeah.
curiosity, right?
So Zacchaeus was truly curious, and Jesus engaged him at the point of his curiosity.
Yeah,
Jesus didn't give him his kingdom marketing talking points.
yeah,
And because it was who Jesus was. So what happens is, I think these politicians, they get to a point where it's not really who they are. I
yeah,
think this is the strange, weird appeal to Donald Trump for so many people, that people say, he's a terrible guy. He's immoral. Look at his stuff. Look at what he's done. And they're trying to have that argument. And they're like, and they totally can't understand why would you even vote for him? Why would you even, people to talk about Christians? Like, as a Christian, I cannot believe that you would vote for somebody who's, he's a misogynist and he's an adulterer. And, they go down the list. And I think the thing about it is it's like, yeah, but here's the deal. But he's not a made up plastic politician.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, love him or hate him or whatever. And I think that's the thing where like you're saying, like with Rogan and like, why wouldn't Kamala get on there? Because they said, well, we're going to control the discussion and you can't ask this. And like, for example, the show that she went on with the guy that was the Muslim podcaster.
Right.
It said, you can't ask about Hamas. You can't ask about Gaza, whatever. And they said, and it was so cringy that they didn't even put the podcast out.
Yeah. She talked about bacon.
Like, but that's the thing. The thing about it is that these politicians either like if we talked about who I really am and what I really believe and what I want and the vision that I've got and whatever, I wouldn't get elected.
Yeah.
And so you imagine having to live behind that veil your entire life, that it's like I remember listening to Barack Obama talk. And I used to remember, I'm like, they're talking about how absolutely genius this guy is and how intellectual he is and whatever. But you would listen to him talk and he kind of stuttered and mumbled and, and he talked in such a way that it almost felt like he was constantly processing. Like, I can't say that. I can't say that. It was like, but then you get him on a moment where it's some other subject where it's not like a powder keg topic. And he was like really fluent and it was just like it flowed from him and whatever. And it's like, wow, you get a glimpse of the real person, but in this other context. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting to me.
It is the authenticity piece, one of the political strategies. And again, this isn't political commentary, but like one of the political strategies, this political season for Trump has been his handlers have said, let Trump be Trump. So what's that mean? That means he's going to say some really stupid stuff that politically stupid. Doesn't make any sense why you would say stuff like that. But it's also part of his appeal because he's not prepackaged. He'll sit down with Joe Rogan and have a conversation for 3-4 hours and, whatever. And I think there is some appeal to that. Yeah. One of the things, not to make a hard segue, but Dr. Azar makes really good comments about, I think, and you kind of referenced this in these conversations, in these discussions. One of the hardest things is, in his words, those around you, peers, and those around you are so emotionally aroused. They're emotionally charged. Yep. And, you just can't even hardly have like a rational conversation because there's so much emotion. But here's the beautiful thing. Here's the beautiful thing. And this is one of the things about Rogan that is amazing. He'll have people on that have totally different views and perspectives, but he'll engage them in a discussion, in a conversation in a way that's not like, it's not like, what was Hannity's part? Hannity and Combs?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what his name?
Yeah.
Whatever it was, like that was the original OG,
That's right.
Fox show.
Yeah.
And you have ultra right Hannity
and
ultra left Combs, and they spent the whole time yelling at each other, over the top of each other. And, like that is so contradictory to constructive conversation and communication. Right. And that's obviously we don't do that, whatever, but like we are in a lot of ways in conversations so closed off. And are we able, Ken? Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Like as disciple makers and believers, can we be, and this is really weird. I don't want to, like, obviously Rogan is not the model and example, but what he does can be a model. Like, can we learn to engage the conversation so we can understand where people are coming from?
Yeah.
And hear them, have our positions, have our beliefs, have who we are, and be unwavering in that, but then also be able to listen to people with the hopes of showing them that Jesus is the better way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the whole model of what he's trying to do is hear where they're coming from so he can understand why they believe the way they do, why they feel the way they do, why are they, politicians, why do they govern the way that they do? But I do think what Dr. Azar said is so true that the emotional uh the charged emotion that we have in our world today
Yes.
is one of the biggest challenges of
Yeah,
being able to engage in these conversations.
absolutely. And for those from the Gen X crowd, no, Sean Puffy Combs was not ever on a show with Sean Hannity. They're thinking Sean Hannity and Sean Combs, like Sean, right? Gen
Oh,
X.
man, that is hilarious. That
Gen
is
X would be
yeah,
thinking like, wait. Like Diddy was like it was
right,
Hannity and Diddy.
right, Gen
No,
Z.
no. Or,
Yeah,
yeah, Gen Z. Yeah. So
yeah,
here we are. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And I think David Skidmore brings up a good point. He's talking about Jesus' target audience. He preached the gospel to the poor, the brokenhearted, the captive, the blind, the bruised, and the people that are in that condition rarely have a change my mind attitude toward God. And
yeah,
that's the thing. And I think that's the thing where what you're talking about, like, let's talk about it.
yeah,
Let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about that. And that's what we're doing today. Like
yeah.
our total
Even
thing.
hard topics, yeah,
Yeah. Like our thing today is, like, what do you want to talk about? What's important to you? What's, whatever. Cause I think great disciple makers, I think they can take we talk about this a lot in our coaching. Great disciple makers can take any good conversation and find where the crucial conversation point is
yeah,
and walk people towards a God conversation. And I think, if you set the tone of Luke 10, Jesus said, go in and speak your peace over them. If your peace settles there, a son of peace dwells there, stay there. If not, go on.
yeah.
But, I think, but
Can I
that's
give an example of that? Can I give an
you
example of that?
for real.
Like, let's just do this, okay?
Mhm.
Alright, so we're in political season,
Okay.
and so one of the biggest issues for the last well, I mean, it's been a big issue for many years, but particularly the last couple years with, with the abortion being sent back to the states. Roe v.
Right.
Wade's overturned,
Mhm.
and it gets sent back to the states to decide and whatever, right? So, 2022 midterm elections kind of shocked a lot of people,
Right.
and much of that was because some of these abortion positions were on the ballot in these places and
Right.
whatever. And so, obviously, this is one of the most electric rail firebrand issues that you can possibly have a conversation because as believers, we believe God is the giver of life.
Mhm.
We stand for right, we stand for life, we stand for all these kinds of things. And, there are, I mean, so it's easy to stand up and just take that strong position and
Mhm.
blast that, right?
Right.
But when you start having conversations with people and you start hearing, some of their stories and some of their experiences,
Yeah.
you may find people, even believers,
Yeah.
that are, maybe leaning more towards the pro-choice perspective. And it's really hard sometimes for people to have and engage in a healthy conversation in that
Yeah.
because it's become such an emotionally charged
Right.
deal. So as believers, I am unapologetically pro-life. I believe God is the giver of life. But when I'm dealing with people and I see a lot of that emotion, my first reflex, so engaging in spiritual conversation on these really supercharged topics
Yeah.
like abortion or whatever, my as a disciple maker, what I want to know is I want to know where's the emotion coming from? Tell me the story behind the emotion.
Yeah.
And typically what you'll find is there's some kind of personal encounter or experience relating to that subject that they're in conflict. Maybe they know that morally
Yeah.
it's not the right thing, but how do they rationalize that with a real life experience that they're in contradiction to? And, I just so as believers, can we engage in these difficult conversations without it turning into just, you know, some, yelling back and forth deal? Because that's a conversation. If you don't engage in that, it's gonna be the change my mind, scream at each other. We both walk away, feeling the same way. So I think that's an example, Ken, of how to approach these hot button topics in a way that produces a constructive conversation.
Yeah, I mean, how interesting is it that Jesus lived his life in such a way that the incarnate word declared clearly declared the kingdom better, but never got into a place where it felt like he was defending it.
Yeah.
And he lived in such a way where it felt like his agenda was for people, not for the establishment of positions. I think that's I mean
Mhm.
when your position matters to you more than the person you're talking to,
Yes.
that's a dead
That's
end
so
street.
good.
That's a dead end street. And I had a conversation with last week. I had a conversation with two guys. One of them's a local. We were golfing.
Yeah.
We were golfing, and one of the guys is retired. One of them is a local business owner, and one of them is a critical care physician.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this, and we were literally talking about this very thing that we're talking about right now. This or not this topic, but and I said, well, I said the thing about it is, I said that I think what's difficult, and they're all various forms of believers, and I said, the difficult thing about it is that we've gotten to a point where I think the enemy has done a good job. The devil, the
Yeah.
enemy, has done a good job of taking bibliocentric teachings and simply made them socio-political hot button topics.
Sure.
And so the guy was like, give me an example. He said, besides abortion. He said, clearly, like, besides abortion, give me an example. And I said, like the transgenderism thing. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, what I mean is, I said, look what the Bible says. I said, the very creation of Adam and Eve, the Bible says he made them male and female, and he made them in his image. And I said, so they were, that God connects their gender identity to their image bearing calling.
Mhm.
I said, doesn't it make sense then why there would be so much gender confusion and dysphoria and all of those types of things? He goes, well, I've never thought about it like that. And we started having this amazing conversation about the fact that rather than becoming, so I said, here's the deal though. The problem is, I said, there's a lot of kids out there that have gotten sucked into this. I said, look, when I was a kid, there's not a kid in my class that ever thought about, maybe I'm not a boy, maybe I'm not a girl. I said, there's not one. I said, they've gotten sucked into this thing. And I said, and what happens is that I said, personally, I believe that the enemy of our souls wants to create this awareness and this rhetoric that causes then the truth believers to become ought defenders
Yeah.
rather than to care about these poor 7 and 8-year-old kids that shouldn't even be thinking about this. I said, but how do you help them? How do you, and they're like, oh, this is amazing. And we had this conversation that lasted like 3 holes of golf.
Yeah.
We're walking together. And I even made this statement. I said, one of my favorite comments, I said, I know we tabled the abortion conversation, but I said, one of my favorite topics about abortion is, I said, Rush Limbaugh once said, I believe I am pro-choice. I just believe that the choice should always be for the life of the baby. And And what's interesting is they're like, "Oh, that is so good." I said, "Look, I mean, let's face it, God's pro-choice."
Yeah.
And they went, they're like, so the one guy goes, "A phrase that I never expected to come out of the lips of a preacher." I said,
Yeah.
"No, this is what I mean." I said, "If God
He's the
weren't
ultimate pro-choice.
if God weren't pro-choice, he wouldn't have given Adam and Eve the choice of whether or not to eat the fruit in the garden or not." Like I said, like, I'm not saying that God's for abortion.
Right.
God says you've got a choice and you're going to have to live with the consequences of your choice one way or the other. But here's the deal: God's values are what informs the choice, and his redemptive power
Yeah.
moves in when the choices are bad, and so on and so forth. And they're like, they were just blown away. They're like, I've never even thought about it. They've never heard this before. And here's guys that are pretty conservative guys, whatever,
Sure.
that started opening up, and they started admitting, like that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, but you feel like you got to be like, "Ah, ah,"
Right.
and I said, yeah, that's called a conversation.
Right. And it's and the whole conversations are intended to polarize, right? It's
Yep.
absolutely intended to polarize. When you talk about transgenderism, the conversation is this. We Do you want them to commit suicide? And they
Right.
got confusion. Like if you're against them transitioning, then you obviously want them to commit suicide. So there's a polarization on that side. And then, like you said, the odd defenders on the other side. Like I feel backed into a corner that I have to stand for my position when the deeper issue is get into that person's life. Why is this happening? Why is
Mhm.
this going on? And like obviously it is a frustrating thing, like you said, who's creating the narrative in a
Yeah.
conversation that
Yeah.
produces the questions, and that's
Yeah.
where the issue is a challenge. And so as these issues are swirling,
Yeah.
the word of God, I think, is clear. And I started a series yesterday. There is a way that seems right to man.
That's right.
And I've never really kind of read it that way. Like I've always just kind of there's a way it seems right to a man and just kind of focus on, but there's a way it in natural logic,
Mm.
that self-governed life that an
Yeah.
unbeliever lives. There's a way,
Carnal rationality.
the carnal mind, there's a
Yeah.
way it seems right. It feels right.
Yeah.
It looks right and whatever, but the missing piece, what they're missing is, but the carnal mind always leads to destruction. It always leads to a place of devastation. So when a believer comes along, our goal, and it should be to recognize and understand the reason they're going down this path is because it seems right to them. It seems
Wow.
like this is the right path to go down. It there may be rebellion, there may be all that kind of stuff, but to them, it seems right, and our job is to get people to see and to understand, not that they're horrendous people, they're whatever, but to get them to see there is a better way.
Wow.
There's an end where this is gonna end up, and there's a better way that Jesus has for us, and sometimes when we match their level, you and I have had conversations about, like, parenting, right? And sometimes in parenting, the best thing you can do, and like particularly children when they get older, teenage years, whatever, they're very emotionally driven. And usually a lot of times what happens, so I've got two boys, you've got a son. So
Yeah.
like a lot of times what happens in that environment, there's testosterone and so the what happens, the conversation, the teenager goes high, he goes up here on
Yes.
emotion.
Yes.
And a lot of times what we do as men, as alpha males, whatever, we're like, "Oh, no, no, you're not doing that." So we go above them, like, "Mm." And, you and I've had conversations about when they go here,
Yeah.
learning to
Yeah.
bring the temperature down
Yes.
here
Yes.
then puts them in tension of recognizing that my reaction is irrational, and so then now they're in that tension, how they can respond. I think that's a good conversation for disciple makers is when people go here emotionally, how instead of matching them, can we bring that emotion
Mm.
down rather than trying to match their level of intensity?
Man, that's so good. Listen to this. This is so crazy. So along those lines, right? So I've heard it said before. Here's an example of, I think, what makes people sort of angry.
Yeah.
is okay. So, um, Google is a clearly, uh, not a strong conservative advocate.
Correct.
Okay.
That's not
So
opinion, that's proven.
no, it's proven. So what I'm trying to do is I was looking while you were talking, paying close attention to what you were saying,
I appreciate that.
while at the same time looking for data or statistics about what percentage, because I've heard this before, that when women have sonograms, they or an ultrasound, they choose oftentimes life. And so on the it's called um, focusonthefamily.com option ultrasound life advocate. It says that 56% of women who had their mind made up to have an abortion after they received counseling and an ultrasound decided to choose life.
Hmm.
I search it on Google and I said, do sonograms, I said percentage of sonograms that prevent abortion. It says AI overview. Listen to this.
Okay.
No, sonograms in blue, right? In blue, like it's like,
Mhm.
no, sonograms do not stop abortions. Like literally, that's what it
Statement of
says.
fact.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, most women who are certain they want an abortion do not change their minds after viewing an ultrasound. However, a small percentage of women who are less certain about their decision may be more likely to continue their pregnancy after viewing an ultrasound. Bro, that is not anything what I've ever but here's the deal though.
Yeah.
But that's what baits people into becoming ought defenders.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
your first deal is look at that. Google has literally built into the AI response this thing that promotes the
Man, right.
agenda idea.
Right.
And my first thought was to actually be angry at that and be like, "Dang, can't Google can't even let AI be unbiased and just, no." It says, "No, sonograms actually don't prevent abortions." But
What it should do is just say, "Here's the percentages.
right.
Here's the information. Here's
Here's
the
the data you're
data."
looking for. You're a search engine, you dingbat.
Not an
Like,
opinion, not an
right.
opinion. You're just like, you should just give data. Here's the data,
Yeah.
and then you come to your conclusion on whether it's effective or not.
See, and the reason why I was looking that up.
That's a wild example,
Is that
bro.
crazy? Just like that. But what I was looking for was I was just looking for the data to show that the choice to continue with the pregnancy was based upon a value that superseded another value.
Mhm.
That a woman who's, goes in and gets an ultrasound and sees like that's a real human in my womb. Maybe has a change of heart, a change of mind, and it's a change of values. And
Yeah.
so the point that I'm making is that it's not that there was some legal decision that was made. It's
Yeah.
not that there was, that there was a law that was passed. And so she didn't, no, she adopted a different value.
Yeah.
And that's what we say is that Jesus's way is a better way. And I love what David Skidmore said, where
Yeah.
God said, choose life.
Yeah.
So God says you have the choice to choose, or you the ability to choose. It is your choice.
Yeah.
But God says, but if you want the blessing, if you want peace, if you want if you want right,
Yeah.
if you want social and cultural harmony and continuity,
Yeah.
choose life.
Yeah.
And I think those are the ones where, like he said, his last statement, the conversations that I've walked away from feeling like I failed were typically those I allowed myself to get pulled into an argument and didn't minister to the person. And that's the point. My point is that bringing a woman in and saying, "Hey, let's talk about this. Let's have an ultrasound. Let's just let's just get the full picture here of what's going on."
Yeah.
And you start, and I love what, listen to this, what option, it's called option ultrasound. Okay.
Mhm.
And you can pay for it for the, does it like a monthly deal, and you can pay for it. And here's what it says. I love this. It says, we don't just care about the baby's life. We care about the mother's heart.
Mm. There you go. There
And
you
I think
go.
that's the thing. I think that's the thing where it's like, look, like you can pick it and you can carry your signs and you could be like, uh, stop abortion, stop killing babies, blah, 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 blah. And what happens is it just turns into like this rhetoric, this banter. It's and so when you start ministering to the person, when you go to Zacchaeus's house, when you sit down and have supper, and you
Yeah.
talk and have a real conversation, I think it changes things because you
And
care
even the
about the
woman
person.
and even the woman who maybe has gone through with it.
Right.
Can we love on that person and show them the love and the mercy and the healing of God?
Yeah.
That's where we've gotta extract that out, and just so the whole point of the conversation today is just going on a diatribe, right? Is not what that it's not that's not what ministry is. What David Skidmore said, like,
No.
ministry is when you get pulled in the argument and you're not ministering that person. Do we have the ability to do that? One thing I'll just mention and just kinda closing out, Ken, is
Yes.
it's interesting. So, like, talk about the Google thing. I do think we need to be careful of labeling opinions and things that we don't agree with as misinformation. It's a dangerous road going down where we start thinking, we've gotta govern some things
Yes.
that we think is misinformation, because sometimes what we're governing or what we're saying is misinformation is really just a different perspective of an issue, and we wanna try to control that, and that kinda becomes a very dangerous thing. Our job as believers is not to manipulate anything. Our job is to, again, like you said, to love people where they're at, to show them the better way of Jesus, and to give them the opportunity to be pro-choice and to choose life, to choose God's way,
Yeah.
over their way. So
Yeah.
so, man, great conversation today. I was trying to read here.
Mhm.
If you wanna change somebody, make sure they have eaten recently. Dr. Azar coming in with some research from 2011 that proves that if you wanna change a person's mind, make sure they have eaten recently, and don't try to change your mind right before lunch or at the end of the day. That's interesting.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
Well, it's the thing, I think that's the thing where it's interesting where, like, you look at some Middle Eastern perspectives on, like, sort of prototypical, um, uh, um, view of the Semitic language, Semitic land, Semitic language is, like the bowels of your compassion,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Gut, that
Yep.
that
Yep.
the bowels of your like, where's compassion? They're like, the bowels of your compassion. It's like,
Yep. Yep.
people are like, that's a really weird phrase, but that's interesting. It's interesting, and we look at that and we say, like, oh man, that's not very scientific. And it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, there've been, for about 200 years in American history, mothers have been telling their daughters, listen, a way to a man's heart is through their stomach.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dr. Czar says hospitality is needed to disciple. I think that is a very, very underrated gifting in the body of Christ, and the responsibility, not just to those that are gifted, but a responsibility to those in the body of Christ of hospitality. So, all right, so we got to wrap up.
Let's wrap.
John Hummel says the giveaway is still open for a winner.
Does that, is that, Is he saying, like, since he remembered it, that he should get it?
I
Is that
mean
his
I mean, he didn't specifically say that, but it's fair.
can he John, can you wear an extra large? Look at this. Radio silence. John Hummel,
Waiting on the response.
can you wear an extra large?
I
He's like,
I
"I don't wanna answer that question."
I say we because he
That's true.
remembered it to the end.
Yeah,
He's been a faithful, loyal listener.
he was faithful to the end. Um,
Let's let's let's
all right.
let's give it to John Hummel.
Ding, 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 ding. John
Winner,
Hummel.
winner, chicken dinner, baby. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Wow.
Well, so Ken, we did it. 200th episode.
Here it is.
Just a conversation with. And so today was just in response to the engagement that we got and some great conversations. He said he wasn't implying that, but he didn't
No.
say that he, wouldn't take it.
No, the implications are clear.
There we go. Chief meteorologist has voted.
Yep. John Hummel, you got one vote today on election day. You're the write-in candidate by
He is
Chief
the write-in
Meteorologist Ken Bastarkey.
Yep, that's the winner. Congratulations to John Hummel, winner of our 200th episode gift giveaway today.
Yeah. You got to come get it. That's the only thing. We
That's
don't
right.
ship.
Come to Ohio, baby. Come to Ohio. Well, man, we appreciate Ken. We started on this journey
Yeah.
a few years ago,
We sure
and
did.
just our goal was, we've not done a lot to try to get to Joe Rogan numbers and whatever. But man, the numbers have been amazing. We've been in the top 10% since early on in podcasts, and I can't remember the number. There's millions of podcasts. It's like 41 million podcast listeners out there and whatever. Like it's a highly competitive deal.
Yeah.
But we appreciate everybody who's been a part of this, supported us. We get everywhere we go, people say, "Hey man, we listen to your podcast," and
True.
I've shared it with our people in the church and whatever. So we appreciate that. We want to move people towards living mobilized lives and share our journey and share our experiences of what we've gone through the last 8 years.
Oof.
8 years on this. I mean, obviously more than that, but intentionally, directly, specifically these last 8 years on this journey. So it's been fun, man. We've enjoyed it.
This has been good. Well, the thing about it is that it's for me being able to, sit every week and talk about the things that you and I are both probably most passionate about. It was funny. Chris, I had a 45-minute conversation with Dr. Littles, and I told him that I was one click away from a PhD program last week. And in 45 minutes, he turned me aside from that. And he said, "You're not God's fingerprint, Ken, on your life is not to bring another voice into an already crowded leadership space." He said, "You and your brother are missiologists." He said, your next degree path needs to be something in missiology. And so anyway, but to get a chance to talk about these kinds of things, which are not just that we're passionate about, but they're identified by people as, this is what you guys are, is a precious thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for being a part. You are as much a part of the show as anybody, and we appreciate the engagement and conversation. So thank you for being with us through these 200 episodes. And guess what? We're going to come back next week, Ken. We'll be back here for 201.
We will. If the Lord doesn't
Should
take
the
us
Lord
off the planet.
tarry.
Yeah.
Should the Lord tarry.
Election results don't shut down the internet, or I don't know, whatever may happen. I'm not sure.
Speaking of hot topics. So, so we'll be back hopefully next Tuesday around 10 o'clock. Until then,